So I got two things I want to say. It's Norton's birthday. Did not know that. All the Norton fans, I hope you guys are enjoying his birthday. And I feel so sorry for this man. I was reading his lore and I was sitting here like, oh yeah, I forgot. And apparently I completely forgot about this. I thought he blew up the mines because the folks were bullying him and all that stuff. No, he did it because he and the other folks were trying to find gold. So he did it as a desperate measure and decided that, yeah, I'm gonna blow it up. But he ended up getting injured, surviving alone, and he ended up killing a bunch of others, which is really sad when you think about it. I was like, I did not know that. That's why homeboy was calling him a thief and all that stuff, because he stole the idea. And I guess like Norton thought he was doing a good thing by doing that, but apparently it's not the flex that he thinks it is. And it still doesn't justify anything that Norton did. He's what you call he's desperate. He was desperate for money. He was desperate to at least like get out of there, be a poet, because apparently he likes writing poems and he wanted to be a poet. It just shows how tragic he is, I swear. And yeah, also this whole match was kind of a flop because I was gonna pop the cipher, but I wasn't sure because I didn't want to like mess up everything. And then this happens, and I was hoping that the seer and little girl would be there to like help me out, but they weren't. I guess that was them giving me the signal. I was scared. I kind of hesitated there. And also yeah, that one TikToker who was saying that Anne is actually pretty easy to kite. In a way they are, but at the same time, not really. Anne isn't really easy to kite. At least in my perspective, that is. I had a hard time trying to kite her. And I also had a hard time trying to figure this one out. And I forgot that Norton got nerfed to where like his thing doesn't move as fast. So this whole time I was just like, okay, it'll just push him back. Not when that happens. And then the little girl in this game, she literally ran away, and I got so mad, but I couldn't really be angry because that was my fault. I just didn't communicate. Nobody said focus on decoding, and that was my fault. And I guess Seer was trying to distract it. It was just a whole like lose situation. Darned if you do, darned if you don't. And I decided to play as Norton's like two skins that were actually kind of famous. But one thing I do have a gripe about, I don't like the way NetEase does that to some characters. There will be characters who have like specific hair and they forever turn them blonde. It's like, I don't know how to feel about that. It just feels weird. That's how it feels with how they did Patricia and Williams A tiers in the COA. They made their hair white. I didn't like that too much. It just didn't suit them. It would have looked nice if they had black hair. Then again, they always kind of be changing hair because like literally everybody's hair was like a lighter color, like pale, blonde. I don't like that. I don't like it when they have brunette characters and then they keep making them blonde. And then you see characters who are just blonde all the time. They don't have to get their hair changed too much. They'll probably get their hair changed once or twice in like a B tier or something, but that's really it. And that's something that I'm not really too bothered by. I just don't like it how they do it to others. That's just a personal thing. But this match, okay, funny story. So I wasn't paying attention. I was mainly just trying to figure out how I was gonna talk in the vid, and it turned out one of the archers wanted me to be an archer as well. I was like, huh? And then it was like 3-2. I'm like, what? And then it just went there. I was like, my fault, gang. My fault. My bad, y'all. And yeah, embarrassing. And then this one, oh, I like this one. Honestly, I'd say I'm pretty good with Norton. I just sometimes fat thumb it and then I accidentally tap the wrong thing. I was meaning to switch his thing once, but I accidentally tapped on his magnet. Awkward. Also, I'm gonna read this like letter because oh my god, it just shows how like based Alice is, because like everybody was talking about how Alice was boring. I'm like, she's not really boring. She literally tells the whole truth and doesn't act biased about any of the characters. With Orpheus and the other two barons that like in the experiment notes, because Orpheus also had like a co-worker in this instance, and we saw this said co-worker in the prologue of Hullabaloo. Yeah, they're super biased along with Orpheus. Orpheus is biased, and he also is like not that much trustworthy with some of his stuff. It was obvious from the get-go that he wasn't trustworthy, with how like he even said that like that his memory was terrible, and the only reason why his memory was so bad was because you know, overdose and all that stuff, and the drugs were getting to him. And somebody actually pointed out that like, cause I knew it, I freaking knew it. I wasn't tripping when I thought this, cause like he was talking about how Alice was like his wife or something like that in one of the notes. And you wanna know how I know he's unreliable? Because the notes changed. Nettie's was so smart about that. In one of his notes, in the him, her, and it event, he said that he recognized this person as his wife, but the thing is that his wife had no face. His wife, quote unquote, his wife had no face. I was like, that's not your wife. And then it also said that that was his daughter. I was like, oh, so it starts to like come together. So basically Alice is younger than him. Yeah, we know that. But another thing is that he thought Alice was his wife, but then his memory went scrambled because, you know, the drug overdose and all that stuff. And he ends up losing Alice in the process because he remembers Alice as a little girl. Meanwhile, this figment of his imagination that came up that he saw of his wife was also Alice, but she had no face. He only recognized his childhood pen pal. I'll explain more once I make a video about Orpheus. What we need to talk about is Norton. So I was reading the field notes and I was just like, okay. And this was just like her one note in I believe the fourth letter, or maybe the third. Most likely it was the fourth letter. Alice was interviewing him, and the field notes kind of remind me of him because he wouldn't talk unless Alice would pay him. Just like in this one, none of the folks would talk unless she was paying for it. And then there was one particular person she was interviewing who wouldn't take money but instead take food. And it turns out that the reason why Norton likes bread so much is because every time when he was young and barely had money, he would always be eating bread, moldy bread. Like, that was just his way of surviving, so he's used to it. But another thing is that he would always buy bread for this one guy who was like he was like a grandfather to him that he was helped taking care of. You'll see it in the letters as I like continue scrolling down. And his name was I forgot what his name was. He said the old man, and yeah, old fool. His name was something. I'm trying to see. His name was Benny. That was what his name was. His name was Benny. And Benny was the one who was yelling at Norton, saying that he's a thief and all that stuff. Mainly because he probably stole some notes, and Benny was just angry because he didn't want Norton doing that. So in his last moments, he like lashed out. But the thing is that Norton did one thing that stood out to me. As a sign of respect to help people pass on, you put like two things on their eyes to bid them farewell. Norton does this. This whole time I'm thinking Norton's a cruel guy who like was just greedy and selfish, but no, it turns out he's not. He was just desperate. That's literally all he was. He was desperate to get this money, desperate to get out the trenches. He's basically like just this guy that Orpheus hired. He basically put Norton in a game filled with people who had it well, sort of ish, or who look well or present themselves well, when in reality they also had hard backgrounds. It's just Norton is very evident and it's out there, and this just made his character so much more interesting than the way the fandom portrays him. I hope I can dive deeper on his character. Anyways, y'all have a good day, cause this lore is crazy.